Hi guys, welcome to our daily encounter. Ezekiel was a prophet to the exiles. This was a man who was exiled from the land of Judah and was taken away captive into Babylon. And he was taken away from his land, he was taken away from his city, he was taken away from his temple. He was a priest, so he's no longer able to offer up service to the Lord there in the temple. And he's in this foreign land, away from everything that he knew, everything that he loved, everything that he cherished. And we can only imagine what he was experiencing physically, spiritually, emotionally. Physically, of course, he's physically away from the land that he loved. He's away from what he had grown up, the environment that he had grown up in, the familiar trees, the familiar atmosphere, the land, all that he has been taken away from. And now he's in this strange land by this strange river in Babylon. And then also we can imagine what he's going through spiritually, him being a priest who was used to perhaps, offering up sacrifices to the Lord, being around other priests and being engaged with and a participant of worship there at the temple. And now he's taken away from that. And so spiritually, he feels disconnected from the temple that to him was the dwelling place of God and was the place in which he could draw near to the Lord. But then we could also think about emotionally what he must be feeling and experiencing. In all likelihood, he's depressed, probably despondent, feeling very emotional and sad about having to be taken away from the land that he loved. I'm sure he saw a lot of his loved ones perish when the Babylonians came in to take over the city. I'm sure he's very distraught emotionally. So this situation that he's in was affecting him physically, spiritually, and emotionally. And it must have been a very, very difficult time for Ezekiel. But fortunately for Ezekiel, he's able to receive this vision of God in his exaltation and in his majesty. He gets to see a representation of the glory of the Lord on his throne, high and exalted. And he got to see that this God, Yahweh, was still in control. And this image and this vision really communicates that God was still in control. Even though everything looked chaotic, even though everything looked like it was uncontrolled and just chaos, this vision could remind Ezekiel that there is a God who is sovereign, there is a God who is in control, and there's a God that is high above all creation, and even who rules over all the nations. And so this was a very important thing for Ezekiel to see at the beginning of his ministry. And it becomes somewhat of a foundation for his ministry, as I'm sure he reflected back on the vision time and time again throughout the challenges that he had in being a prophet to the exiles. And as we think about this, this can become a very important thing for us as well. Because let's face it, there's times in our lives where we feel some of these things, if not all of these things all at once. Sometimes maybe we feel physically exiled, maybe because, a lot of us felt that during the epidemic or the pandemic when COVID came. We were all physically exiled basically from each other as we were quarantined and things like that. But there might be other circumstances where we feel physically exiled. Maybe we have to move away from our family, or maybe we become ill and have to stay at home or stay in a hospital or something like that, where we might feel, again, physically exiled. Or there might be times when we feel spiritually exiled. We just feel disconnected from God, maybe because of some challenges that we have, maybe some temptations that we face, some trials that we've gone through, and maybe we feel disconnected from God, or maybe we haven't been able to really get connected with a group of people, maybe because of physical illness or things like that. Maybe we also experience emotional exile sometimes, where we just are dealing with anxieties and fears and depression and things like that that really weigh down on us. There might be times when we feel very similar to how Ezekiel felt. Well, we need the same thing in those situations as Ezekiel needed. We need an exalted view of the Lord. When we can see God in his exalted state, it can help us in those difficult situations. Because on the ground surface, where we're at, everything might seem chaotic. Everything might seem in disarray. We look around and we wonder, why is everything so crazy? And then we look up to the Lord and we see the God in his stability, in his control, in his majesty, in his glory, in his sovereignty. And it can help us to have some solid ground to stand on, to realize that there is a God that we can turn to, that we can hold fast to, that will bring some stability to our lives when everything else seems chaotic. When things aren't going the way that we would like for them to go, we can look up to the Lord and put our trust in him and our faith in him. And so really we just need a bigger vision of God, a grander vision of the Lord. And that can help us through these various times in which we feel exiled and we feel disconnected. And as we do that, we'll be able to face the day a little bit better. It might still be difficult. It might still be hard. But at least now we have something to hold on to as we endure the storms of life. So hopefully we can do the same thing that Ezekiel did. And that is get a grander vision of God. And I guess we could say, there's ways we can do this. We can go to God's word and read about God and his majesty. We can go to him in prayer and get a sense of his majesty and his control. We can worship the Lord. Worship is one of the best ways that we really get caught up in the sovereignty and the majesty and the greatness and the goodness of God. Basically do anything that we can to get our minds on who God is and his nature and who he is in his splendor. And when we can do that, it will perhaps help us to endure these exile moments in our lives. And hopefully we'll be encouraged to do that in our reading today. So with that, guys, I do thank you for watching the video today. Hope you guys have a great day. Love you guys. God bless.